the Mahabharata of Krishna-Dwaipayana Vyasa. Translated into English prose from the original Sanskrit text by Pratap Chandra Roy C.I.E. This free ebook has been downloaded from holybooks.com. Bhishma Parva. Section 43, Bhishma Parva. Sanjaya said, beholding Dhananjaya then to take up once again his arrows and Gandiva, the mighty warriors of the Pandava party uttered a tremendous shout. And those heroes, viz., the Pandavas and the Somakas, and those who followed them, filled with joy blew their sea-born conches. And drums and paces, and kakachas and cow horns, were beaten and blown together, and the uproar made was very loud. And then, O ruler of men, there came the gods with Gandharvas and the P3s, and the hosts of Siddhas and Charanas, from desire of witnessing the sight. And Rishis, highly blessed, came there in a body with him Indra of 100 sacrifices at their head for beholding that great slaughter. Then, O king, beholding the two armies that looked like two oceans ready for the encounter and continuously moving, the heroic king Yudhishthira the just, putting off his coat of mail and casting aside his excellent weapon and quickly descending from his car with joined hands proceeded on foot, eyeing the grandsire with restrained speech, facing the east towards the direction where the hostile host was standing. And seeing him proceed thus, Dhananjaya the son of Kunti, speedily alighting from his car followed him, accompanied by his other brothers. And the Lord Vasudeva also followed him behind. And the principal kings too of his army, filled with anxiety, followed in the same path. Arjuna said, What is this act of thine, O king, that abandoning thy brothers thou proceedest on foot, face eastwards to the hostile host? Bhimasena said, Where wilt thou go, O king of kings, having cast off thy coat of mail and weapons, towards the warriors of the foe cased in mail, and leaving thy brothers, O ruler of earth? Nakula said, Thou art my eldest brother, O Bharata. Beholding thee proceeding in this way, fear troubleth my bosom. Tell us, whither wilt thou go? Sanjaya continued, though thus addressed by his brothers, O son of Kuru's race, Yudhishthira of restrained speech said nothing but continued to proceed. Unto them then, the high-souled Vasudeva of great wisdom smilingly said, His object is known to me. Having paid his respects to all his superiors such as Bhishma, Drona and Kripa, and Salya also, he will fight the foe. It is heard in histories of olden times that he who, having paid his respects according to the ordinance unto his preceptors revered in years and his kinsmen, fighteth with those that are his superiors, is sure to obtain victory in battle. Even that is my opinion. When Krishna was saying this, among the ranks of Dhritarashtra's son, a loud uproar of, Alas! And, Oh! arose, but the other army remained perfectly still. Beholding Yudhishthira, the heroic warriors of Dhritarashtra's son conversed with one another, saying, This one is an infamous wretch of his race. It is plain that this king is coming in terror towards Bhishma's side. Yudhishthira with his brothers, hath become a seeker after Bhishma's shelter. When Dhananjaya however is his protector, and Pandu's son Vrikodara, and Nakula and Sahadeva also, why doth the eldest son of Pandu come hither in fear? Though celebrated in the world, this one however could never have been born in the Kshatriya order, since he is weak and his bosom is filled with fear at the prospect of battle. Then those warriors all praised the Kauravas. And all of them, becoming rejoiced with cheerful hearts, waved their garments. And O monarch, all the warriors there then censured Yudhishthira with all his brothers and along with Kesava too. Then the Kaurava army, having said, Fie! to Yudhishthira, soon again, O monarch, became perfectly still. What will this king say? What will Bhishma say in reply? What will Bhima, boastful of his powers in battle, say, and what Krishna and Arjuna? What indeed hath Yudhishthira to say? Great was the curiosity then, O king, of both the armies in respect of Yudhishthira. The king meanwhile, penetrating the hostile array bristling with arrows and darts, proceeded quickly towards Bhishma surrounded by his brothers. Seizing his feet with his 2 hands, the royal son of Pandu then said unto Santanu's son Bhishma, who was there ready for battle, these words. Yudhishthira said, I salute thee, O invincible one. With thee we will do battle. Grant us thy permission in that matter. Give us also thy blessing. Bhishma said, If, O Lord of the earth, thou hadst not in this battle come to me thus, I would have, O great king, cursed thee, O Bharata, for bringing about thy defeat. I am gratified with thee, O son. Do battle and obtain victory, O son of Pandu. What else may be desired by thee, obtain thou in battle. Solicit also the boon, O son of Pritha, which thou desirest to have from us. If it happens so, O great king, then defeat will not be thine. A man is the slave of wealth, but wealth is no one's slave. This is very true, O king. I have been bound by the Kauravas with their wealth. It is for this, O son of Kuru's race, that like a eunuch I am uttering these words, viz, bound I am by the Kauravas with wealth. Battle accepted, what dost thou desire? Yudhishthira said, O thou of great wisdom, do thou, desirous of my welfare from day to day, consult my interests. Do battle however for the sake of the Kauravas. Even this is always my prayer to thee. Bhishma said, O king, O son of Kuru's race, what aid can I render thee in this? I shall of course fight for thy force. Tell me what thou hast to say. Yudhishthira said, Therefore, O sire, I ask thee, I bow to thee, O grandsire, how shall we in battle vanquish thee that art invincible? Tell me this, that is for my benefit, if indeed thou seest any good in it. Bhishma said, I do not, O son of Kunti, see the person who, even if he were the chief of the celestials himself, can defeat me in battle when I fight. Yudhishthira said, My salutations to thee, O grandsire. Therefore do I ask thee this. Tell us how thy own death may be compassed by force in battle. Bhishma said, I do not see the person, O sire, who can vanquish me in battle. The time also of my death is not yet come to me once again. Sanjaya continued, Then, O son of Kuru's race, Yudhishthira, once more saluting him, accepted Bhishma's words with a bend of his head. And that mighty armed one then proceeded towards the car of the preceptor Drona through the midst of all the soldiers who were eyeing him, accompanied by his brothers. Then saluting Drona and walking round him, the king spoke to that invincible warrior words that were for his own benefit. Yudhishthira said, I ask thee, O invincible one, how I may fight without incurring sin, and how, with thy permission, O regenerate one, I may vanquish all my foes. Drona said, If having resolved to fight, thou hadst not come to me thus, I would have cursed thee, O king, for thy complete overthrow. I am however gratified, O Yudhishthira, and honored by thee, O sinless one, I permit thee, fight and obtain victory. I will also fulfill thy wish. Say what thou hast to say. Under these circumstances, battle accepted. What dost thou wish? A man is the slave of wealth, but wealth is not one's slave. This is quite true, O king. Bound I have been with their wealth by the Kauravas. It is for this that like a eunuch I shall fight for the sake of the Kauravas. It is for this that like a eunuch I am uttering these words. Battle accepted, what dost thou wish? I shall fight for the sake of the Kauravas, but will pray for thy victory. Yudhishthira said, Pray for my victory, O regenerate one, and counsel what is for my good. Fight however for the Kauravas. This is the boon solicited by me. Drona said, Victory, O king, is certain for thee that hast hurry for thy counselor. I also grant thee that thou wilt vanquish thy foes in battle. Thither where righteousness is, thither is Krishna, and thither where Krishna is, thither is victory. Go. Fight, O son of Kunti. Ask me, what shall I say unto thee? Yudhishthira said, I ask thee, O foremost of regenerate ones, listen to what I have to say. How shall we in battle vanquish thee that art invincible? Drona said, as long as I will fight, so long victory can never be thine. Therefore, O king, seek with thy brothers, for my speedy slaughter. Yudhishthira said, Alas, for this, O thou of mighty arms, tell us the means of thy death. O preceptor, prostrating myself I ask thee this. My salutations to thee. Drona said, the foe, O sire, I see not who may slay me while standing in battle. I am engaged in fight with wrath, excited and scattering my arrowy showers continually. Except when addressed for death, king, having abandoned my arms and withdrawn in yoga meditation from surrounding sights, none will be able to slay me. This that I tell thee is true. I also tell thee truly that I will cast off my arms in battle, having heard something very disagreeable from someone of credible speech. Sanjaya continued, hearing these words, O king, of the wise son of Bharadwaja, and honoring the preceptor, Yudhishthira then proceeded towards the son of Saradvat. And saluting Kripa and walking round him, O king, Yudhishthira, accomplished in speech, said these words unto that warrior of great valor. Yudhishthira said, obtaining thy permission, O preceptor, I will fight without incurring sin, and permitted by thee, O sinless one, I will vanquish all my foes. Kripa said, if having resolved on fight, thou hadst not come to me thus, I would have cursed thee, O king, for thy complete overthrow. A man is the slave of wealth, but wealth is no one's slave. This is very true, O king, and bound I have been with wealth by the Kauravas. I must, O king, fight for their sake. This is my opinion. I therefore speak like a eunuch in asking thee, battle accepted, what dost thou desire? Yudhishthira said, Alas, I ask thee therefore, O preceptor, listen to my words. Saying this, the king, greatly agitated and deprived of his senses, stood silent. Sanjaya continued, understanding however what he intended to say. Gautama Kripa replied to him saying, I am incapable of being slain, O king. Fight, and obtain victory. I am gratified with thy coming. Rising every day from bed I will pray for thy victory, O monarch. I say this to thee truly. Hearing, O king, these words of Gautama, and paying him due honors, the king proceeded thither where the ruler of the Madra was. Saluting Salya and walking round him, the king said unto that invincible warrior those words that were for his own benefit. Yudhishthira said, obtaining thy permission, O invincible one, I will fight without incurring sin, and permitted by thee, O king, I will vanquish my valorous foes. Salya said, if having resolved on fight, thou hadst not come to me thus, I would have, O king, cursed thee for thy overthrow in battle. I am gratified with thee and honored by thee. Let it be as thou wishest. I grant thee permission, fight and obtain victory. Speak, O hero, for what hast thou any need? What shall I give thee? Under these circumstances, O king, battle accepted, what dost thou desire? A man is the slave of wealth, but wealth is no one's slave. This is true, O king. Bound I have been with wealth by the Kauravas. O nephew, it is for this that I am speaking to thee like a eunuch. I will accomplish the desire thou mayst cherish. Battle accepted. What dost thou wish? Yudhishthira said, think, O king, daily of what is for my great good. Fight according to thy pleasure, for the sake of the foe. This is the boon that I solicit. Salya said, under these circumstances, say, O best of kings, what aid shall I render thee? I shall of course fight for the sake of thy enemy, for I have been made one of their party by the Kauravas with their wealth. Yudhishthira said, even that is my boon, O Salya, which was solicited by me during the preparations for the fight. The energy of the Suta's son Karna should be weakened by thee in battle. Salya said, this thy wish, O Yudhishthira, shall be accomplished, O son of Kunti. Go, fight according to thy pleasure. I shall look after thy victory. Sanjaya continued, having obtained the permission of his maternal uncle, the ruler of the Madra, the son of Kunti, surrounded by his brothers, came out of that vast army. Vasudeva then went to Radha's son on the field of battle. And the elder brother of Gada, for the sake of the Pandavas, then said to Karna, it hath been heard by me, O Karna, that from hatred of Bhishma thou wilt not fight. Come to our side, O son of Radha, and stay with us as long as Bhishma is not slain. After Bhishma is slain, O son of Radha, thou mayst then again engage in battle on Duryodhana's side, if thou hast no preference for any of the parties. Karna said, I will not do anything that is disagreeable to Dhritarashtra's son, O Kesava. Devoted to Duryodhana's good, know that I have cast off my life for him. Hearing these words of Karna, Krishna ceased, O Bharata, and reunited himself with the sons of Pandu headed by Yudhishthira. Then amid all the warriors the eldest son of Pandu loudly exclaimed, he who will choose us, him we shall choose for our ally. Casting his eyes then upon them, Uyatsu said these words with a cheerful heart, unto Kunti's son King Yudhishthira the just, I will fight under thee in battle for the sake of you all, with the sons of Dhritarashtra, if O king thou wilt accept me, O sinless one. Yudhishthira said, come, come, all of us will fight with thy foolish brothers. O Uyatsu, both Vasudeva and we all say to thee, I accept thee, O thou of mighty arms, fight for my cause. On thee rests, it seems, the thread of Dhritarashtra's line, as also his funeral cake. O prince, O thou of great splendor, accept us that accept thee. The wrathful Duryodhana of wicked understanding will cease to live. Sanjaya continued, Uyatsu then, abandoning the Kurus thy sons, went over to the army of the Pandavas, with beat of drums and cymbals. Then King Yudhishthira of mighty arms, filled with joy, again put on his shining coat of mail of golden effulgence. And those bulls among men then mounted their respective cars. And they counter-arrayed their troops in battle array as before. And they caused drums and cymbals in many hundreds to be sounded. And those bulls among men also set up divers leonine roars. And beholding those tigers among men, viz., the sons of Pandu on their cars, the kings on their side with Dhrishtadyumna and others, once more set up shouts of joy. And beholding the nobility of the sons of Pandu, who had paid due honor to those that were deserving of honor, all the kings there present applauded them highly. And the monarchs talked with one another about the friendship, the compassion and the kindness to kinsmen, displayed at the proper season by those high-souled personages. Excellent, excellent, were the delightful words everywhere bruited about, coupled with eulogistic hymns about those famous men. And in consequence of this the minds and hearts of everyone there were attracted towards them. And the Mlechas and the Aryas there who witnessed or heard of that behavior of the sons of Pandu, all wept with choked voices. And those warriors then, endued with great energy, caused large drums and pushkaras by hundreds upon hundreds to be sounded, and also blew their conches, all white as the milk of cows. Thus ends the 43rd section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 44, Bhishma Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, when the divisions of both my side and the foe were thus arrayed, who struck first, the Kurus or the Pandavas? Sanjaya said, hearing those words of his elder brother, thy son Dusasana advanced with his troops, with Bhishma at their head, and the Pandavas also advanced with cheerful hearts, desiring battle with Bhishma, having Bhimasena at their head. Then leonine shouts and clamorous uproars, and the noise of crocachas, the blare of cow horns and the sound of drums and cymbals and tabors arose in both armies. And the warriors of the foe rushed against us, and we also rushed against them with loud shouts. And the uproar caused by this rush was deafening. The vast hosts of the Pandavas and the Dhartashtra's in that awfully murderous encounter shook in consequence of that uproar of conches and cymbals, like forests shaken by the wind. And the din made by those hosts teeming with kings, elephants and steeds rushing against one another in that evil hour, was as loud as that of oceans agitated by the tempest. And when that din, loud and causing the hair to stand on end arose, the mighty armed Bhimasena began to roar like a bull. And those roars of Bhimasena rose above the clamor of conches and drums, the grunts of elephants and the leonine shouts of the combatants. Indeed, the shouts of Bhimasena transcended the noise made by the thousands of chargers neighing in both the armies. And hearing those shouts of Bhimasena, who was roaring like the clouds, shouts that resembled the report of Sakra's thunder, thy warriors were filled with fear. And at those roars of the hero, the steeds and elephants all ejected urine and excreta like other animals at the roar of the lion. And roaring like a deep mass of clouds and assuming an awful form, that hero frightened thy sons and fell upon them. Thereupon, the brothers, viz., thy sons Duryodhana and Durmukha and Dusaha, and that mighty car warrior Dusasana and Dharmarjna, O king, and viving Seti and Chitrasena, and the great car warrior Vikarna and also Purumitra, and Jaya and Bhoja, and the valorous son of Somadatta, shaking their splendid boss-like masses of clouds, exhibiting the lightning's flashes and taking out of their quivers long arrows resembling snakes that have just cast off their sloughs, surrounded that mighty bowman. Rushing towards them, covering him with flights of arrows like the clouds shrouding the sun. And the 5 sons of Draupadi, and the mighty car warriors Subhadra, and Nakula and Sahadeva, and Drishtadhyumna of Prishata's race rushed against those Dhartashtra's, tearing them with whetted shafts like summits of mountains with the impetus bolts of heaven. And in that first encounter, characterized by the awful twang of bowstrings and their flapping against the leathern fences of the warriors, no combatant, either on thy side or that of the foe, turned back. And O bull of Bharata's race, I beheld the lightness of hand of the disciples of Drona in particular, who, shooting innumerable arrows, O king, always succeeded in hitting the mark. And the twang of sounding bowstrings ceased not for a moment, and the blazing arrows shot through the air like meteors falling from the firmament. And all the other kings, O Bharata, stood like silent spectators witnessing that interesting and awful encounter of kinsmen. And then those mighty car warriors, with wrath excited and remembering the injuries sustained at one another's hands, strove in battle, O king, challenging one another. And the 2 armies of the Kurus and the Pandavas, teeming with elephants, steeds and cars, looked exceedingly beautiful on the field of battle, like painted figures on a canvas. And then the other kings all took up their bows. And the sun himself was shrouded by the dust raised by the combatants. And they fell upon one another at the heads of their respective troops, at the command of thy son. And the loud uproar made by the elephants and the chargers of those kings rushing to the combat, mingled with the leonine shouts of the combatants and the din made by the blare of conches and the sounds of drums. And the uproar of that ocean, having arrows for its crocodiles, bows for its snakes, swords for its tortoises and the forward leaps of the warriors for its tempest, resembled the din made by the actual ocean when agitated. And kings in thousands commanded by Yudhishthira, with their respective troops, fell upon the ranks of thy son. And the encounter between the combatants of the 2 hosts was fierce in the extreme. And no difference could be perceived between the combatants of our side or that of the foe, while battling or retreating in broken array or rallying again to the fight. In that terrific and awful battle, thy father Bhishma shone, transcending that countless host. Thus ends the 44th section in the Bhishmavada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 45, Bhishmavada Parva continued. Sanjaya said, "On the forenoon of that awful day, O king, the terrible battle that mangled the bodies of so many kings commenced. And the loud shouts, resembling leonine roars of the Kurus and the Srinjayas, both desirous of victory in battle, made both the welkin and the earth resound therewith. And a tumultuous uproar was heard mingled with the flaps of leathern fences and the blare of conches. And many were the leonine roars that rose there of men shouting against one another. And O bull of Bharata's race, the sound of bowstrings stretched by hands cased in fences, the heavy tread of infantry, the furious neigh of chargers, the falling of sticks and iron hooks on the heads of elephants, the clash of weapons, the jingle of bells of elephants rushing against one another and the clatter of cars resembling the roar of clouds, mingled together produced a loud uproar making one's hair stand on end. And all the Kuru warriors, reckless of their very lives and with cruel intentions rushed with standards upraised against the Pandavas. And Santanu's son himself, taking up a terrible bow that resembled the rod of death, rushed, O king, on the field of battle against Dhananjaya. And Arjuna also, endued with great energy, taking up the bow Gandiva celebrated over all the world, rushed on the field of battle against Ganga's son. And both those tigers among the Kurus became desirous of slaying each other. The mighty son of Ganga, however, piercing in battle the son of Pritha, could not make him waver. And so, O king, the son of Pandu also could not make Bhishma waver in battle. And the mighty bowman Satyaki rushed against Kritavarman. And the battle between these two was fierce in the extreme and made the hair of onlookers stand on end. And Satyaki afflicted Kritavarman, and Kritavarman afflicted Satyaki with loud shouts, and each weakened the other. And pierced all over with arrows, those mighty warriors shone like two blossoming kinshukas in spring adorned with flowers. And the mighty bowman Abhimanyu battled with Vrihadvala. Soon, however, in that encounter, O king, the ruler of Kosala cut off the standard and overthrew the charioteer of Subhadra's son. The son of Subhadra then, upon the overthrow of his charioteer, was filled with wrath and pierced Vrihadvala, O king, with 9 shafts, and with a couple of sharp arrows that grinder of foes also cut off Vrihadvala's standard, and with one more cut off one of the protectors of his car wheels, and with the other his charioteer. And those chastisers of foes continued to weaken each other with sharp arrows. And Bhimasena struggled in battle with thy son Duryodhana, that mighty car warrior, proud and inflated, who had injured the sons of Pandu. Both of those foremost princes among the Kurus are tigers among men and mighty car warriors. And they covered each other on the field of battle with their arrowy showers. And beholding those high-souled and accomplished warriors conversant with all modes of warfare, all creatures were filled with amazement of Bharata. And Dusasana, rushing against that mighty car warrior Nakula, pierced him with many sharp arrows capable of penetrating into the very vitals. The son of Madri then, laughing the while, cut off with sharp arrows his adversary's standard and bow, and then he struck him with 25 small-headed arrows. Thy son, however, then, who can with difficulty be vanquished, slew in that fierce encounter the steeds of Nakula and cut off his standard. And Durmukha, rushing against the mighty Sahadeva battling in that terrific encounter, pierced him with a shower of arrows. The heroic Sahadeva then, in that fearful battle overthrew Durmukha's charioteer with an arrow of great sharpness. Both of them irrepressible in fight, approaching each other in combat and each attacking the other and desirous of warding off the other's attack, began to strike terror into each other with terrible shafts. And King Yudhishthira himself encountered the ruler of the Madras. The chief of the Madras then in his very sight cut off in twain Yudhishthira's bow. Thereupon the son of Kunti, throwing aside that broken bow, took up another that was stronger and capable of imparting a greater velocity. The king then, with straight arrows, covered the ruler of the Madras and in great wrath said, "Wait, wait." And Drishtadyumna o Bharata, rushed against Drona. And Drona then, in great wrath cut off in that encounter the hard bow of the high-souled prince of Panchala that was capable of always taking the lives of foes. And at the same time he shot in that conflict a terrible arrow that was like a second rod of death. And the arrow shot penetrated the body of the prince. Taking up then another bow and 14 arrows, the son of Drupada pierced Drona in that encounter. And enraged with each other, they battled on fiercely. And the impetuous Sanka encountered Somadatta's son who was equally impetuous in battle and addressed him, "O king," saying, "Wait, wait." And that hero then pierced his adversary's right arm in that combat. And thereupon the son of Somadatta struck Sanka on the shoulders. And the battle that ensued between those two proud heroes, O king, soon became as terrible as the combat between the gods and the Danava. And that mighty warrior Drishtaketu of immeasurable soul, with wrath excited rushed in battle, O king, against Valika, the very embodiment of wrath. Valika then, O king, setting up a leonine roar, weakened the wrathful Drishtaketu with innumerable arrows. The king of the Chedis, however, exceedingly provoked, quickly pierced Valika in that encounter with 9 arrows. Like an infuriate elephant against an infuriate elephant, in that combat they roared against each other repeatedly, both exceedingly enraged. And they encountered each other with great wrath and looked like the planets Angarika and Sukra. And Ghatotkacha of cruel deeds encountered the Rakshasa Alamvusha of cruel deeds, like Sakra encountering Vala in battle. And Ghatotkacha o Bharata, pierced that infuriate and powerful Rakshasa with 90 keen-edged shafts. And Alamvusha also in that combat pierced the mighty son of Bhimasena in many places with straight arrows of his own. And mangled with arrows they shone in that encounter like the mighty Sakra and the powerful Vala in the combat of old between the celestials and the Asuras. The powerful Sikhundin, O king, rushed against Drona's son. Aswathaman, however, deeply piercing the angry Sikhundin stationed before him with a keen-edged shaft, caused him to tremble. Sikhundin also, O king, smote Drona's son with a sharp-whetted shaft of excellent temper. And they continued in that encounter to strike each other with various kinds of arrows. And against the heroic Bhagadatta in battle, Virata, the commander of a large division, rushed impetuously, O king, and then commenced their combat. Virata, exceedingly provoked, poured on Bhagadatta an arrowy shower like O Bharata, the clouds showering rain on the mountain breast. But Bhagadatta, that lord of the earth, speedily enveloped Virata in that encounter with arrows like the clouds enveloping the risen sun. Kripa, the son of Saradvat, rushed against Vrihadkshatra, the ruler of the Kaikayas. And Kripa o Bharata, enveloped him with a shower of arrows. Vrihadkshatra also shrouded the infuriate son of Gautama with an arrowy downpour. And those warriors then, having slain each other's steeds and cut off each other's bows, were both deprived of their cars. And exceedingly enraged, they then approached each other for fighting with their swords. And the combat which then took place between them was terrible in aspect and unparalleled. That chastiser of foes, King Drupada, then, in great wrath rushed against Jayadratha, the ruler of the Sindhus, cheerfully waiting for battle. The ruler of the Sindhus pierced Drupada in that combat with 3 shafts, and Drupada pierced him in return. And the battle that took place between them was terrible and fierce, and productive of satisfaction in the hearts of all the spectators, and resembling a conflict between the planets Sukra and Angarika. And Vikarna, son to thee, with fleet steeds rushed against the mighty Sutasoma, and the combat between them commenced. Vikarna, however, although he pierced Sutasoma with many arrows, failed to make him waver. Neither could Sutasoma make Vikarna waver. And that appeared wonderful to all. And against Susaman, that mighty warrior and tiger among men, viz. Chekitana of great prowess rushed in exceeding wrath for the sake of the Pandavas. And Susaman also, O great king, in that encounter checked the advance of that mighty warrior Chekitana with plentiful shower of arrows. And Chekitana also, greatly provoked, showered on Susaman in that terrible conflict, a shower of arrows like a mighty mass of clouds showering rain on the mountain breast. And Sakuni, endued with great prowess, rushed, O king, against Prativindya of great prowess, like a lion against an infuriate elephant. Thereupon the son of Yudhishthira, in exceeding wrath, mangled Suvala's son in that combat, with sharp arrows like Magavat mangling Adenava. And Sakuni also, in that fierce conflict, pierced Prativindya in return and mangled that warrior of great intelligence with straight arrows. And Shratakaman rushed in battle, O great king, against that mighty warrior Sudakshina of great prowess, the ruler of the Kambojas. Sudakshina, however, O great king, piercing that mighty warrior, viz. The son of Sahadeva, failed to make him waver, for he stood like the Mainaka mountain against the assaults of Indra. Thereupon Shratakaman, exceedingly provoked, weakened that mighty warrior of the Kambojas with innumerable arrows and mangled him in every part of his body. And Iravan, that chastiser of foes, in great wrath and exerting carefully, rushed in battle against the wrathful Shratayush. The powerful son of Arjuna, that mighty warrior, then slaying the steeds of his adversary, set up a loud roar, and thereupon, O king, all the warriors who saw the feat praised him greatly. And Shrutasena also, exceedingly provoked, slew in that conflict the steeds of Falguni's son with a powerful mace, and the battle between them continued. And Vinda and Anuvinda, those two princes of Avanti, approached in battle that mighty warrior, the heroic Kuntibhoja, at the head of his troops accompanied by his son. And wonderful was the prowess we beheld of those two princes on that occasion, for they fought on very coolly, though battling with a large body of troops. And Anuvinda hurled a mace at Kuntibhoja, but Kuntibhoja quickly covered him with a shower of arrows. And the son of Kuntibhoja pierced Vinda with many arrows, and the latter also pierced him in return. And the combat between them looked very wonderful. And the Kekaya brothers, O sire, at the head of their troops, encountered in battle the 5 Gandhara princes with their troops. And thy son Viravahu battled with that best of warriors Uta, the son of Virata, and pierced him with 9 arrows. And Uttara also pierced that hero with sharp-edged arrows. And the ruler of the Chedis, O king, rushed in battle against Uluka. And he pierced Uluka with a shower of arrows, and Uluka also pierced him with sharp arrows furnished with excellent wings. And the combat that took place between them, O king, was fierce in the extreme, for unable to vanquish each other, they mangled each other terribly. And thus in that general engagement thousands of single combats took place between men on cars, warriors on elephants and horsemen, and foot soldiers of their side and thine. For a short while only that engagement offered a beautiful sight. Soon, however, O king, it became furious and nothing could be discovered. In the battle that ensued, elephants rushed against elephants, warriors against warriors, steed against steed, and foot soldier against foot soldier. The conflict then became confused and fierce in the extreme, of heroes rushing against each other in the melee. And the celestial rishis and siddhas and charanas that were present there beheld that terrific battle to resemble the combat of the gods and the asuras. And elephants in thousands, and cars also in thousands, and vast bodies of infantry, O sire, seemed to alter their character. And O tiger among men, it was seen that cars and elephants and steeds and infantry fought with each other repeatedly on the same places. Thus ends the 45th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 46, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, O king, I will now describe to thee the combats of hundreds and thousands of foot soldiers, O Bharata, in utter forgetfulness of all consideration due to others. There, the son recognized not the sire recognized not the son of his loins, the brother recognized not the brother, the sister's son recognized not the maternal uncle. The maternal uncle recognized not the sister's son, the friend not the friend. The Pandavas and the Kurus fought as if they were possessed by demons. Some tigers among men fell with cars into pieces. And the shafts of cars broke, clashing against shafts, and the spikes of car yokes against spikes of car yokes. And some warriors united together encountered others that were united together, all desirous of taking one another's life. And some cars, obstructed by cars, were unable to move. And huge-bodied elephants with rent temples, falling upon huge elephants, angrily tore one another in many places with their tusks. Others oaking, encountering impetus and huge ones of their species with arched edifices and standards on their backs and trained to the fight struck with their tusks, shrieked in great agony. Disciplined by training and urged on by pikes and hooks, elephants not in rut rushed straight against those that were in rut. And some huge elephants, encountering compeers in rut, ran uttering cries like those of cranes in all directions. And many huge elephants, well trained and with juice trickling down from rent temples and mouth, mangled with swords, lances, and arrows, and pierced in their vital parts, shrieked aloud and falling down expired. And some, uttering frightful cries, ran in all directions. The foot soldiers that protected the elephants, endued with broad chests and capable of smiting effectually, with wrath excited and armed with pikes and bows and bright battle axes, and with maces and clubs and short arrows and lances, and with shafts and stout bludgeons mounted with iron spikes, and swords well grasped of the brightest polish, ran hither and thither oaking, and seemed resolved to take one another's life. And the sabres of brave combatants rushing against one another steeped in human blood, seemed to shine brightly. And the whiz of swords whirled and made to descend by heroic arms and falling upon the vital parts of the bodies of foes, became very loud. And the heart-ending wails of combatants in multitudinous hosts, crushed with maces and clubs, and cut off with well-tempered swords, and pierced with the tusks of elephants, and grained by tuskers, calling upon one another, were heard, O Bharata, to resemble the wails of those that are doomed to hell. And horsemen on chargers of exceeding speed and furnished with outstretched tails resembling the plumes of swans rushed against one another. And hurled by them, long-bearded darts adorned with pure gold, fleet and polished, and sharp-pointed, fell like snakes. And some heroic horsemen on coursers of speed, leaping high cut off the heads of car warriors from their cars. And here and there a car warrior, getting bodies of cavalry within shooting distance, slew many with straight shafts furnished with heads. And many infuriate elephants adorned with trapping of gold and looking like newly risen clouds, throwing down steeds, crushed them with their own legs. And some elephants struck on their frontal globes and flanks, and mangled by means of lances, shrieked aloud in great agony. And many huge elephants, in the bewildering of the melee, crushing steeds with their riders, threw them down. And some elephants, overthrowing with the points of their tusks, steeds with their riders, wandered crushing cars with their standards. And some huge male elephants, from excess of energy and with the temporal juice gushing down in large quantities, slew steeds along with their riders by means of their trunks and legs. Fleet arrows, polished and sharp-pointed and resembling snakes, fell upon the heads, the temples, the flanks, and the limbs of elephants. And polished javelins of terrible mien, and looking like large meteoric flashes, hurled by heroic arms, fell hither and thither oaking, piercing through the bodies of men and horses and cutting through coats of mail. And many, taking out their polished sabres from sheaths made of the skins of leopards and tigers, slew the combatants opposed to them in battle. And many warriors, though themselves attacked and having the flanks of their bodies cut open, yet angrily fell upon their foes with swords, shields and battle axes. And some elephants, dragging down and overthrowing cars with their steeds by means of their trunks, began to wander in all directions, guided by the cries of those behind them. And hither and thither some pierced by javelins, and some cut asunder by battle axes, and some crushed by elephants and others trod down by horses, and some cut by car wheels, and some by axes, loudly called upon their kinsmen, O king. And some called upon their sons, and some upon their sires, and some upon brother and kinsmen, and some called upon their maternal uncles, and some upon their sisters' sons, and some called upon others on the field of battle. And a very large number of combatants of Bharata lost their weapons, or had their thighs broken, and others with arms torn off or sides pierced or cut open, were seen to wail aloud from desire of life. And some, endued with little strength, tortured by thirst, O king, and lying on the field of battle on the bare ground, asked for water. And some, weltering in pools of blood and excessively weakened, O Bharata, greatly censured themselves, and thy sons assembled together for battle. And there were brave Kshatriyas, who having injured one another, did not abandon their weapons or set up any wails, O sire. On the other hand, lying in those places where they lay, roared with joyful hearts, and biting from wrath with their teeth their own lips, looked at one another with faces rendered fierce in consequence of the contraction of their eyebrows. And others, endued with great strength and tenacity in great pain, afflicted by arrows and smarting under their wounds, remained perfectly silent. And other heroic warriors, deprived in the encounter of their own cars and thrown down and wounded by huge elephants, asked to be taken upon the cars of others. And many, O king, looked beautiful in their wounds like blossoming kinokas. And in all the divisions were heard terrific cries, countless in number. And in that awful combat destructive of heroes, the sire slew the son, this son slew the sire, the sister's son slew the maternal uncle slew the sister's son, friend slew friend, and relatives slew kinsmen. Even thus the slaughter took place in that encounter of the Kurus with the Pandavas. And in that frightful and terrible battle, in which no consideration was shown by anybody for anybody, the divisions of the Pandavas approaching Bhishma began to waver. And O bull of Bharata's race, the mighty armed Bhishma, O king, with his standard which was made of silver and graced with the device of the Palmyra with 5 stars setting upon his great car, shone like the lunar orb under the peak of Meru. Thus ends the 46th section in the Bhishma Vada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 47, Bhishma Vada Parva continued. Sanjaya said, after the great part of the forenoon of that awful day had worn out, in that terrific engagement, O king, that was so destructive of foremost of men, Durmukha and Kritavarman, and Kripa and Salya, and Vivinsati, urged by thy son, approached Bhishma and began to protect him. And protected by those 5 mighty warriors, O bull of Bharata's race, that great warrior penetrated the Pandava host. And the Palmyra standard of Bhishma was seen to glide continually, O Bharata, through the Chedis, the Kasis, the Karushas, and the Panchalas. And that hero, with broad-headed shafts of great swiftness, which were again perfectly straight, cut off the heads of foes and their cars with yokes and standards. And O bull of Bharata's race, Bhishma seemed to dance on his car as it coursed along its track. And some elephants, struck by him in their vital parts, shrieked in agony. Then Abhimanyu, in great wrath, stationed on his car, unto which were yoked excellent steeds of a tawny hue, rushed towards Bhishma's car. And with his standard adorned with pure gold and resembling a Karnikara tree, he approached Bhishma and those 5 foremost of warriors. And striking with a keen-edged shaft the standard of the Palmyra bannered warrior, that hero engaged in battle with Bhishma and those other warriors that protected him. piercing Kritavarman with 1 arrow and Salya with 5, he weakened his great-grandsire with 9 arrows. And with 1 arrow, well shot from his bow, drawn to its fullest stretch, he cut off his adversary's standard adorned with pure gold. And with 1 broad-headed shaft, capable of penetrating every cover, which was perfectly straight, he cut off from his body the head of Durmukha's charioteer. And with another keen-edged arrow he cut in twain the gold-decked bow of Kripa. And them also, with many sharp-pointed shafts, that mighty warrior smote in great wrath, seeming to dance the while. And beholding his lightness of hand, the very gods were gratified. And in consequence of Abhimanyu's sureness of aim, all the warriors headed by Bhishma regarded him to be possessed of the capacity of Dhananjaya himself. And his bow, emitting a twang like that of Gandiva, while stretched and re-stretched, seemed to revolve like a circle of fire. Bhishma then, that slayer of hostile heroes, rushing on him impetuously, speedily pierced the son of Arjuna in that combat with 9 arrows. And he also with 3 broad-headed shafts cut off the standard of that warrior of great energy. Of rigid vows, Bhishma also struck his adversary's charioteer. And Kritavarman and Kripa, and Salya also, O sire, piercing Arjuna's son, all failed to make him waver, for he stood firm like the Mainaka mountain. And the heroic son of Arjuna, though surrounded by those mighty warriors of the Dhartashtra army, still showered on those 5 warriors arrowy downpours. And baffling their mighty weapons by his arrowy showers and pouring on Bhishma his shafts, the powerful son of Arjuna set up a loud shout. And struggling in the battle thus and afflicting Bhishma with his arrows, the strength we saw of his arms then was very great. But though endued with such prowess, Bhishma also shot his arrows at him. But he cut off in that combat the arrows shot from Bhishma's bow. And then that heroic warrior of arrows that were never lost, cut off with 9 arrows, in that combat the standard of Bhishma. And at that feat, the people there set up a loud shout. Decked with jewels and made of silver, that tall standard bearing the device of the Palmyra, cut off O Bharata by the shafts of Subhadra's son, fell down on the earth. And beholding O bull of Bharata's race, that standard falling in consequence of the shafts of Subhadra's son, the proud Bhima set up a loud shout for cheering the son of Subhadra. Then in fierce combat, the mighty Bhishma caused many celestial weapons of great efficacy to appear. And the great grandsire of immeasurable soul then covered Subhadra's son with thousands of arrows. And at this, 10 great bowmen and mighty warriors of the Pandavas quickly rushed on their cars for protecting the son of Subhadra. And those were Virata with his son and Dhrishtadyumna of Prishata's race and Bhima, the 5 Kekaya brothers, and Satyaki also, O king. And as they were falling upon him with great impetuosity, Bhishma the son of Santanu, in that conflict, pierced the prince of Panchala with 3 arrows and Satyaki with 10. And with 1 winged arrow, whetted and sharp-edged as a razor, and shot from his bow drawn to its fullest stretch, he cut off the standard of Bhimasena. And O best of men, the standard of Bhimasena, made of gold and bearing the device of a lion, cut off by Bhishma fell from the car. And Bhima then, piercing Santanu's son Bhishma in that combat with 3 arrows, pierced Kripa with 1, and Kritavarman with 8. And Uttar also, the son of Virata, on a tusker with a praised trunk, rushed against the ruler of the Madras. Salya, however, succeeded in checking the unparalleled impetuosity of that prince of elephants rushing quickly towards his car. That prince of elephants, in great wrath, placing his leg upon the yoke of Salya's car, killed his 4 large steeds of excellent speed. The ruler of the Madras then, staying on that car whose steeds had been slain, hurled a dart, all made of iron and resembling a snake, for slaying Uttar outright. The latter's coat of mail being cut through by that dart, he became totally deprived of his senses and fell down from his elephant's neck, with the hook and the lance loosened from his grasp. And Salya then, taking up his sword and jumping down from his excellent car and putting forth his prowess, cut off the large trunk of that prince of elephants. His coat of mail pierced all over with a shower of arrows, and his trunk cut off. That elephant uttered a loud shriek and fell down and expired. Achieving such a feat, O king, the ruler of the Madras speedily mounted on the splendid car of Kritavarman. And beholding his brother Uta slain and seeing Salya staying with Kritavarman, Virata's son Sweta blazed up in wrath like fire blazing up with clarified butter. And that mighty warrior, stretching his large bow that resembled the bow of Sakra himself, rushed with the desire of slaying Salya the ruler of the Madras. Surrounded on all sides with a mighty division of cars, he advanced towards Salya's car pouring an arrowy shower. And beholding him rush to the fight with prowess equal to that of an infuriate elephant, 7 car warriors of thy side surrounded him on all sides, desirous of protecting the ruler of Madras, who seemed to be already within the jaws of death. And those 7 warriors were Vrihadvala the ruler of the Kosalas, and Jayatsena of Magadha, and Rupmarata O king, who was the valorous son of Salya, and Vinda and Anuvinda of Avanti, and Sudakshina the king of the Kambojas, and Jayadratha the ruler of the Sindhus and the kinsman of Vrihadkshatra. And the stretched bows of those high-souled warriors, decorated with diverse colors, looked like the lightning's flashes in the clouds. And they all poured on Sweta's head ceaseless showers of arrows, like the clouds tossed by the wind, dropping rain on the mountain breast on the expiry of summer. That mighty bowman and commander of the forces, enraged at this, with 7 broad-headed arrows of great impetuosity, struck their bows and then continued to grind them, and those bows we saw were cut off, O Bharata, and thereupon they all took up, within half the time taken up in a wink of the eye, other bows. And they then shot at Sweta 7 arrows. And once again that mighty armed warrior of immeasurable soul, with 7 fleet shafts, cut off those other bows of these bowmen. Those warriors then, whose large bows had been cut off, those mighty car warriors swelling with rage, grasping 7 darts, set up a loud shout. And O chief of the Bharatas, they hurled those 7 darts at Sweta's car. And those blazing darts which coursed through the air like large meteors, with the sound of thunder, were all cut off before they could reach him, that warrior conversant with mighty weapons, by means of 7 broad-headed arrows. Then taking up an arrow capable of penetrating into every part of the body, he shot it, O chief of the Bharatas, at Rupmaratha. And that mighty arrow, surpassing the force of the thunderbolt, penetrated into the latter's body. Then O king, forcibly struck by that arrow, Rupmaratha sat down on the terrace of his car and fell into a deadly swoon. His charioteer then, without betraying any fear, bore him away senseless and in a swoon, in the very sight of all. Then taking up 6 other arrows adorned with gold, the mighty armed Sweta cut off the standard tops of his 6 adversaries. And that chastiser of foes, then piercing their steeds and charioteers also, and covering those 6 warriors themselves with ceaseless shafts, proceeded towards the car of Salya. And beholding that generalissimo of the Pandava forces proceeding quickly towards Salya's car, a loud uproar of, "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose in thy army, O Bharata. Then thy mighty son, with Bhishma at the head and supported by heroic warriors and many troops, proceeded towards Sweta's car. And he thus rescued the ruler of the Madras, who had already entered the jaws of death. And then commenced a battle, terrific and making the hair to stand on end, between thy troops and those of the enemy, in which cars and elephants all got mixed up in confusion. And upon Subhadra's son and Bhimasena, and that mighty car warrior Satyaki, and upon the ruler of the Kekayas, and Virata and Drishtadhyuma of Prishata's race, and upon the Chedi troops, the old Guru grandsire poured showers of arrows. Thus ends the 47th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 48, Bhishma Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, when that great bowman Sweta proceeded towards Salya's car, what did the Kauravas and the Pandavas do, O Sanjaya? And what also did Bhishma the son of Santanu do? Tell me who asked thee all this. Sanjaya said, O king, hundreds and thousands of bulls among Kshatriyas, all brave and mighty warriors, placing the generalissimo Sweta in the van and displaying their strength, O Bharata, unto thy royal son, and with 600 also at their head, desired to rescue Sweta. And those mighty warriors rushed towards Bhishma's car decked with gold, desirous of slaying that foremost of warriors. And the battle that ensued then was terrible. I shall describe to thee that wonderful and terrific battle as it occurred between thy troops and those of the enemy. The son of Santanu made the terraces of many cars empty, for that best of warriors showering his arrows, cut off many heads. Endued with energy equal to that of the sun himself, he shrouded the very sun with his arrows. And he removed his enemies from around him in that combat like the rising sun dispelling the darkness around. And in that battle, O king, arrows were shot by him in hundreds and thousands that were powerful and possessed of great impetuosity, and that took in that conflict the lives of numberless Kshatriyas. And in that combat he felled heads by hundreds of heroic warriors, O king, and elephants cased in thorny mail, like summits of mountains felled by heaven's bolt. And cars, O king, were seen to mingle with cars. A car might be seen upon another car, and a steed upon another steed. And impetuous chargers, O king, bore hither and thither heroic riders in the prime of youth, slain and hanging from their saddles with their bows still in their grasp. With swords and quivers attached to their persons and coats of mail loosened from their bodies, hundreds of warriors, deprived of life, lay on the ground, sleeping on beds worthy of heroes. Rushing against one another, falling down and rising up again and rushing again, having risen up, the combatants fought hand to hand. Afflicted by one another, many rolled on the field of battle. Infuriate elephants rushed hither and thither, and warriors by hundreds were slain. And warriors, along with their cars, were crushed on all sides. And some warriors fell upon their cars, slain by another with arrows. And a mighty warrior might be seen to fall down from high, his charioteer also having been slain. A thick dust arose, and thereupon unto the warrior struggling in battle, the twang of the hostile bow indicated the struggling adversary before him. From the pressure also on their bodies, combatants guessed their force. And the warriors, O king, fought on with arrows, guided by the sound of bowstrings and hostile division. The very hiss of the arrows shot by the combatants at one another could not be heard. And so loud was the sound of drums, that it seemed to pierce the ears. And in that tumultuous uproar, making the hair stand on end, the name of the combatant uttered in the battle, while displaying his prowess, could not be heard. The sire could not recognize the son of his loins. One of the wheels being broken, or the yoke being torn off, or one of the steeds being slain, the brave warrior was overthrown from his car, along with his charioteer by means of straight arrows. And thus many heroic warriors, deprived of their cars, were seen to fly away. He who was slain was cut off, he who was not slain, was struck at the very vitals, but unstruck there was none when Bhishma attacked the foe. And in that terrific battle, Sweta caused a great slaughter of the Kurus. And he slew many noble princes by hundreds upon hundreds. And he cut off by means of his arrows, the heads of warriors by hundreds upon hundreds, and their arms decked with angadas, and their bows all around. And warriors and car wheels, and others that were on cars, and the cars themselves, and standards both small and costly, O king, and large bodies of horses, and crowds of cars, and crowds of men, O bull of Bharata's race, were destroyed by Sweta. Ourselves, from fear of Sweta, abandoning Bhishma, that best of warriors, left the battle, retreating to the rear, and therefore do we now behold your lordship. And all the Kurus, O son of Kuru's race, beyond the range of arrows, and abandoning Bhishma the son of Santanu in that battle, stood as spectators though armed for the combat. Cheerful in the hour of universal cheerlessness, that tiger among men Bhishma, alone of our army, in that terrible battle stood immovable like the mountain Meru. Taking the lives of the foe, like the sun at close of winter, he stood resplendent with the golden rays of his car, like the sun himself with his rays. And that great bowman shot clouds of arrows and struck down the Asuras. And while being slaughtered by Bhishma in that dreadful combat, those warriors breaking away from their ranks, they all fled from him as if from a fire fed by fuel. Encountering the single warrior Sweta, that slayer of foes, Bhishma was the only one amongst us who was cheerful and whole. Devoted to the welfare of Duryodhana, he began to consume the Pandava warriors. Reckless of his very life, which is difficult of being cast off, and abandoning all fear, he slaughtered, O king, the Pandava army in that fierce conflict. And beholding the generalissimo Sweta smiting the Dhartashtra divisions, thy father Bhishma, called also Devavrata, impetuously rushed against him. Thereupon Sweta covered Bhishma with an extensive network of arrows. And Bhishma also covered Sweta with a flight of arrows. And roaring like a couple of bulls, they rushed like two infuriate elephants of gigantic size, or two raging tigers, against each other. Baffling each other's weapons by means of their weapons, those bulls among men, viz., Bhishma and Sweta, fought with each other, desirous of taking each other's life. In one single day Bhishma, infuriate with anger, could consume the Pandava army with his arrows, if Sweta did not protect it. Beholding the grandsire then turned off by Sweta, the Pandavas were filled with joy, while thy son became cheerless. Duryodhana then, with wrath excited and surrounded by many kings, rushed with his troops against the Pandava host in battle. Then Sweta, abandoning the son of Ganga, slaughtered thy son's host with great impetuosity, like the wind uprooting trees with violence. And the son of Bharata, senseless with wrath, having routed thy army, advanced once more, O king, to the place where Bhishma was stationed. And those two high-souled and mighty warriors then, both blazing with their arrows, battled with each other like Vritra and Vasava of old, desirous, O king, of slaying each other. Drawing his bow to the fullest stretch, Sweta pierced Bhishma with 7 arrows. The valorous Bhishma then, putting forth his prowess, quickly checked his foe's valor like an infuriate elephant checking an infuriate compeer. And Sweta then, that delighter of Kshatriyas, struck Bhishma, and Bhishma the son of Santanu also pierced him in return with 10 arrows. And though pierced by him thus, that mighty warrior stood still like a mountain. And Sweta again pierced Santanu's son with 25 straight arrows, at which all wondered. Then smiling and licking with his tongue the corners of his mouth, Sweta in that combat cut off Bhishma's bow into 10 fragments with 10 arrows. Then aiming a plumed arrow made wholly of iron, Sweta crushed the palmyra on the top of the standard of the high-souled Bhishma. And beholding the standard of Bhishma cut down, thy sons thought that Bhishma was slain, having succumbed to Sweta. And the Pandavas also, filled with delight, blew their conches all around. And beholding the palmyra standard of the high-souled Bhishma laid low, Duryodhana from wrath urged his own army to the battle. And they all began very carefully to protect Bhishma, who was in great distress. Unto them, also unto those that stood as idle spectators, the king said, either Sweta will die today, or Bhishma the son of Santanu. I say this truly. Hearing the words of the king, the mighty warriors speedily with 4 kinds of forces, advanced, protecting the son of Ganga. And Valika and Kritavarman, and Kripa, and Salya also, O Bharata, and the son of Jasanda, and Vikarna, and Chitrasena, and Vivinseti, with great speed, when speed was so necessary, surrounding him on all sides, poured on Sweta ceaseless showers of arrows. That mighty warrior then, of immeasurable soul, quickly checked those angry warriors by means of sharp arrows, displaying his own lightness of hand. And checking them all like a lion and a multitude of elephants, Sweta then cut off Bhishma's bow with a thick shower of arrows. Then Bhishma the son of Santanu, taking up another bow in that battle, pierced Sweta, O king, with arrows furnished with feathers of Kanka birds. Then the commander of the Pandava army, with wrath excited, pierced Bhishma in that encounter, O king, with a great many shafts in the very sight of all. Beholding Bhishma, that foremost of heroes in all the world, checked in battle by Sweta, the king Duryodhana became greatly troubled, and great also became the distress of thy whole army. And beholding the heroic Bhishma checked and mangled by Sweta with his arrows, all thought that Bhishma, having succumbed to Sweta, was slain by him. Then thy sire Devavrata, yielding to anger and beholding his own standard overthrown and the Dhartashtra army checked, shot a great many arrows, O king, at Sweta. Sweta, however, that foremost of warriors, baffling all those arrows of Bhishma, once more cut off with a broad-headed shaft thy sire's bow. Throwing aside that bow, O king, Ganga's son, senseless with anger, taking up another bow larger and stronger, and aiming 7 large broad-headed arrows whetted on stone, slew with 4 arrows the 4 steeds of the generalissimo Sweta, cut off his standard with 2, and with the 7th shaft that warrior of great prowess, exceedingly provoked, cut off his charioteer's head. Thereupon that mighty warrior, jumping down from his car whose steeds and charioteer had been slain, and yielding to the influence of wrath, became exceedingly troubled. The grandsire, beholding Sweta that foremost of warriors deprived of car, began to smite him on all sides with showers of arrows. And smitten in that combat with arrows shot from Bhishma's bow, Sweta, leaving his bow on his abandoned car, took up a dart decked with gold, and taking up that terrible and fierce dart, which resembled the fatal rod of death and was capable of slaying death's self, Sweta then in great wrath, addressed Bhishma the son of Santanu in that combat, saying, Wait a little, and behold me, O best of men. And having said this unto Bhishma in battle, that great bowman of exceeding prowess and immeasurable soul, hurled the dart resembling a snake, displaying his valor for the sake of the Pandavas and desiring to achieve thy evil. Then loud cries of, Oh! and, Alas! arose among thy sons, O king, upon beholding that terrible dart resembling the rod of death in splendor. And hurled from Sweta's arms that dart, resembling a snake that had just cast off its slough, fell with great force, O king, like a large meteor from the firmament. Thy sire Devavrata then, O king, without the slightest fear, with its sharp and winged arrows, cut off into 9 fragments that dart decked with pure gold, and which seemed to be covered with flames of fire as it coursed ablaze through the air. All thy troops then, O bull of Bharata's race, set up loud shouts of joy. The son of Virata, however, beholding his dart cut off into fragments, became senseless with anger, and like one whose heart was overcome by the arrival of his hour, could not settle what to do. Deprived of his senses by anger, O king, the son of Virata then smiling, joyfully took up a mace for Bhishma's slaughter with eyes red in wrath, and resembling a second Yama armed with mace, he rushed against Bhishma like a swollen torrent against the rocks. Regarding his impetuosity as incapable of check, Bhishma, endued with great prowess and conversant with the might of others, suddenly alighted on the ground for warding off that blow. Sweta then, O king, whirling in wrath that heavy mace, hurled it on Bhishma's car like the god Maheswara. And in consequence of that mace intended for Bhishma's destruction, that car was reduced to ashes, with standard, and charioteer, and steeds and shaft. Beholding Bhishma, that foremost of warriors became a combatant on foot, and many warriors, viz., Salya and others speedily rushed to his rescue. Mounting then upon another car, and cheerlessly stretching his bow, Bhishma slowly advanced towards Sweta, seeing that foremost of warriors. Meanwhile Bhishma heard a loud voice uttered in the skies, that was celestial and fraught with his own good. And the voice said, "O Bhishma, O thou of mighty arms, strive without losing a moment. Even this is the hour, fixed by the Creator of the universe for success over this one." Hearing those words uttered by the celestial messenger, Bhishma, filled with joy, set his heart upon Sweta's destruction. And beholding that foremost of warriors Sweta become a combatant on foot, many mighty warriors of the Pandava side rushed unitedly to his rescue. They were Satyaki, and Bhimasena, and Dhrishtadyumna of Prishata's race, and the 5 Kekaya brothers, and Dhrishtaketu and Abhimanyu of great energy. And beholding them rushing to the rescue with Drona and Salya and Kripa, that hero of immeasurable soul, Bhishma checked them all like the mountain resisting the force of the wind. And when all the high-souled warriors of the Pandava side were thus held in check, Sweta, taking up a sword, cut off Bhishma's bow. Casting aside that bow, the grandsire quickly made up his mind for Sweta's destruction, having heard the words of the celestial messenger. Though baffled by Sweta, thy sire Devavrata, that mighty warrior, quickly taking up another bow that resembled the bow of Sakra himself in splendor, stringed it in a moment. Then thy sire, O chief of the Bharatas, beholding that mighty warrior Sweta, though the latter was then surrounded by those tigers among men with Bhimasena at their head, thy sire the son of Ganga advanced, steadily for the sake of the generalissimo Sweta alone. Beholding Bhishma advance, Bhimasena of great prowess pierced him with 60 shafts. But that mighty warrior, thy sire Devavrata, checking both Bhimasena and Abhimanyu and other warriors with terrible shafts, struck him with 3 straight arrows. And the grandsire of the Bharatas also struck Satyaki in that combat, with 100 arrows, and Dhrishtadyumna with 20 and the Kekaya brothers with 5. And checking all those great bowmen with terrible arrows, thy sire Devavrata advanced towards Sweta alone. Then taking out an arrow resembling death's self and capable of bearing a great strain and incapable of being resisted, the powerful Bhishma placed it on his bowstring. And that shaft, furnished with wings and duly endued with the force of the Brahma weapon, was seen by the gods and Gandharvas and Pisachas and Uragas and Rakshasas. And that shaft of splendor like that of a blazing fire, piercing through his coat of mail, passed through his body and struck into the earth, with a flash like that of heaven's bolt. Like the sun when speedily retiring to his western chambers, taking along with him the rays of light, even thus that shaft passed out of Sweta's body, bearing away with itself his life. Thus slain in battle by Bhishma, we beheld that tiger among men fall down like the loosened crest of a mountain. And all the mighty warriors of the Kshatriya race belonging to the Pandava side, indulged in lamentations. Thy sons, however, and all the Kurus, were filled with delight. Then, O king, beholding Sweta overthrown, Dusasana danced in joy over the field in accompaniment with the loud music of conches and drums. And when that great bowman was slain by Bhishma, that ornament of battle, the mighty bowmen of the Pandava side, with Sikhundin at their head, trembled in fear. Then when their commander was slain, Dhananjaya, O king, and he of Vrishni's race slowly withdrew the troops for their nightly rest. And then, O Bharata, the withdrawal took place of both theirs and thine, while thine and theirs were frequently setting up loud roars. And the mighty warriors of the Patas entered their quarters cheerlessly, thinking, O chastiser of foes, of that awful slaughter in single combat of their commander. Thus ends the 48th section in the Bhishmavada Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 49, Bhishmavada Parva continued. Dhritarashtra said, when the generalissimo Sweta, O son, was slain in battle by the enemy, what did those mighty bowmen, the Panchalas with the Pandavas do? Hearing their commander Sweta slain, what happened between those that strove for his sake and their foes that retreated before them? O Sanjaya, hearing of our victory, thy words please my heart. Nor doth my heart feel any shame in remembering our transgression. The old chief of Kuru's race is ever cheerful and devoted to us. As regards Duryodhana, having provoked hostilities with that intelligent son of his uncle, he sought at one time the protection of the sons of Pandu in consequence of his anxiety and fear due to Yudhishthira. At that time, abandoning everything, he lived in misery. In consequence of the prowess of the sons of Pandu and everywhere receiving checks, having placed himself amid entanglements from his enemies, Duryodhana had for some time recourse to honorable behavior. Formerly, that wicked-minded king had placed himself under their protection. Why therefore, O Sanjaya, hath Sweta, who was devoted to Yudhishthira, been slain? Indeed, this narrow-minded prince with all his prospects, hath been hurled to the nether regions by a number of wretches. Bhishma liked not the war, nor even did the preceptor. Nor Kripa, nor Gandhari liked it, O Sanjaya. Nor do I like it, nor Vasudeva of Vrishni's race, nor that just king the son of Pandu, nor Bhima, nor Arjuna, nor those bulls among men the twins like it. Always forbidden by me, by Gandhari, by Vidura, by Rama the son of Jamdagni and by the high-souled Vyasa also, the wicked-minded and sinful Duryodhana with Dusasana, O Sanjaya, always following the counsels of Karna and Suvila's son, behaved maliciously towards the Pandavas. I think, O Sanjaya, that he has fallen into great distress. After the slaughter of Sweta and the victory of Bhishma, what did Partha, excited with rage, do in battle accompanied by Krishna? Indeed, it is from Arjuna that my fears arise, and those fears, O Sanjaya, cannot be dispelled. He, Dhananjaya, the son of Kunti, is brave and endued with great activity. I think with his arrows he will cut into fragments the bodies of his enemies. The son of Indra and in battle equal unto Upendra, the younger brother of Indra, a warrior whose wrath and purposes are never futile. Alas, beholding him, what becomes of the state of your mind? Brave, acquainted with Veds, resembling the fire and the sun in splendor and possessing a knowledge of the Indra weapon, that warrior of immeasurable soul is ever victorious when he falleth upon the foe. His weapons always falling upon the foe with the force of the thunderbolt, and his arms wonderfully quick in drawing the bowstring. The son of Kunti is a mighty warrior. The formidable son of Drupada also, O Sanjaya, is endued with great wisdom. What indeed did Dhristadyumna do when Sweta was slain in battle? I think that in consequence of the wrongs they sustained of old, and of the slaughter of their commander, the hearts of the high-souled Pandavas blazed up. Thinking of their wrath, I am never at my ease by day or by night, on account of Duryodhana. How did the great battle take place? Tell me all about it, O Sanjaya. Sanjaya said, Hear, O king, quietly about thy transgressions. It behoveth thee not to impute the fruit to Duryodhana. As is the construction of an embankment when the waters have disappeared, so is thy understanding. Or it is like the digging of a well when a house is on fire. When after the forenoon had passed away, the commander Sweta was, O Bharata, slain by Bhishma in that fierce conflict. Virata's son Sanka, that grinder of hostile ranks ever delighting in battle, beholding Salya stationed with Kritavarman on his car, suddenly blazed up with wrath like fire with clarified butter. That mighty warrior, stretching his large bow that resembled the bow of Indra himself, rushed with the desire of slaying the ruler of the Madras in battle, himself supported on all sides by a large division of cars. And Sanka, causing an arrowy downpour, rushed towards the car on which Salya was. And beholding him advancing like an infuriate elephant, 7 mighty warriors of thy side surrounded him, desirous of rescuing the ruler of the Madras already within the jaws of death. Then the mighty armed Bhishma, roaring like the very clouds, and taking up a bow full 6 cubits long, rushed towards Sanka in battle. And beholding that mighty warrior and great bowman thus rushing, the Pandava host began to tremble like a boat tossed by violence of the tempest. Then Arjuna, quickly advancing, placed himself in front of Sanka, thinking that Sanka should then be protected from Bhishma. And then the combat commenced between Bhishma and Arjuna. And loud cries of, "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose among the warriors engaged in battle. And one force seemed to merge into another force. And thus all were filled with wonder. Then Salya, mace in hand alighting from his large car, slew a bull of Bharata's race, the 4 steeds of Sanka. Jumping down from his car thus deprived of steeds, and taking a sword, Sanka ran towards Vibhatsu's car and mounting on it was once more at his ease. And then there fell from Bhishma's car innumerable arrows by which were covered the entire welkin and the earth. And that foremost of smiters, Bhishma, slaughtered with his arrows the Panchala, the Matsya, the Kekaya, and the Prabhadraka host. And soon abandoning in that battle Pandhu's son Arjuna, capable of drawing the bow with even his left hand, Bhishma rushed towards Drupada, the king of the Panchalas, surrounded by his host. And he soon covered his dear relative with innumerable arrows. Like a forest consumed by fire at the end of winter, the troops of Drupada were seen to be consumed. And Bhishma stood in that battle like a blazing fire without smoke, or like the sun himself at midday, scorching everything around with his heart. The combatants of the Pandavas were not able to even look at Bhishma. And afflicted with fear, the Pandava host cast its eyes around and not beholding any protector, looked like a herd of kin afflicted by cold. Slaughtered or retreating in despondence, being crushed the while, loud cries of Bharata of, "Oh!" and "Alas!" arose among the troops of the Pandavas. Then Bhishma, the son of Santanu, with bow always drawn to a circle, shot therefrom blazing arrows that resembled virulent poison. And creating continuous lines of arrows in all directions, that hero of rigid vows slew Pandava warriors, naming each of Bharata beforehand. And then when the troops of the Pandavas were routed and crushed all over the field, the sun set and nothing could be seen. And then beholding Bhishma, O bull of Bharata's race, proudly standing in battle, the Pathas withdrew their forces for nightly rest. Thus ends the 49th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. Section 50, Bhishma Parva continued. Sanjaya said, when the troops of bull of Bharata's race were withdrawn on the first day, and when Duryodhana was filled with delight upon beholding Bhishma excited with wrath in battle, King Yudhishthira the just speedily repaired unto Janardana, accompanied by all his brothers and all the kings on his side. Filled with great grief thinking of his defeat, and beholding Bhishma's prowess, O king, he addressed that scion of Vrishni's race, saying, Behold, O Krishna, that mighty bowman Bhishma of terrible prowess. He consumes with his arrow my troops like fire consuming dry grass. How shall we even look at that high-souled warrior who is licking up my troops like fire fed with clarified butter? Beholding that tiger among men, that mighty warrior armed with the bow, my troops fly away, afflicted with arrows. Enraged Yama himself, or he armed with the thunder, or even Varuna noose in hand, or Kuvara armed with mace, may be vanquished in battle. But the mighty warrior Bhishma, of great energy, is incapable of being vanquished. Such being the case, I am sinking in the fathomless ocean represented by Bhishma, without a boat to rescue me. In consequence, O Kesava, of the weakness of my understanding, having obtained Bhishma for a foe in battle, I shall, O Govinda, retire into woods. To life there is preferable to devoting these lords of earth to death in the form of Bhishma. Conversant with mighty weapons, Bhishma, O Krishna, will annihilate my army. As insects rush into the blazing fire for their own destruction, the combatants of my army are even so. In putting forth prowess for the sake of kingdom, O thou of Vrishni's race, I am being led to destruction. My heroic brothers also are pained and afflicted with arrows for my sake, having been deprived of both sovereignty and happiness in consequence of their love for their eldest brother. We regard life very highly, for under these circumstances, life is too precious to be sacrificed. During the remainder of my days, I will practice the severest of ascetic austerities. I will not, O Kesava, cause these friends of mine to be slain. The mighty Bhishma incessantly slays with his celestial weapon many thousands of my warriors who are foremost of smiters. Tell me, O Madhava, without delay, what should be done that might do me good? As regards Arjuna, I see that he is an indifferent spectator in this battle. Endued with great might, this Bhima alone, remembering Kshatriya duties, fighteth, putting forth the prowess of his arms and to the utmost of his power. With his hero-slaying mace, this high-souled warrior, to the full measure of his powers, achieveth the most difficult feats upon foot soldiers and steeds and cars and elephants. This hero, however, is incapable, O sire, of destroying in fair fight the hostile host in even a century. This thy friend Arjuna alone amongst us is conversant with mighty weapons. He, however, beholding us consumed by Bhishma and the high-souled Drona, looketh indifferently on us. The celestial weapons of Bhishma and the high-souled Drona, incessantly applied, are consuming all the Kshatriyas. O Krishna, such is his prowess that Bhishma, with wrath excited, aided by the kings on his side, will without doubt annihilate us. O Lord of Yoga, look for that great bowman, that mighty warrior who will give Bhishma his quietus, like rain-charged clouds quenching a forest conflagration. Then through thy grace, O Govinda, the son of Pandu, their foes being slain, will after recovery of their kingdom be happy with their kinsmen. Having said this, the high-souled son of Pritha, with heart afflicted by grief and mind turned within, remained silent for a long while in a reflected mood. Beholding the son of Pandu stricken with grief and deprived of his senses by sorrow, Govinda, then gladdening all the Pandavas, said, Do not grieve, O chief of the Bharatas. It behoveth thee not to grieve when thy brothers are all heroes and renowned bowmen in the world. I also am employed in doing thee good, as also that mighty warriors Satyaki, and Virata and Drupada, both reverend in years, and Drishtadhyumna of Prishata's line. And so also, O best of kings, all these monarchs with their respective troops are expectant of thy favor and devoted to thee, O king. This mighty warrior Drishtadhyumna of Prishata's race, placed in command of thy army, is always desirous of thy welfare and engaged in doing that which is agreeable to thee, as also this Sikhundin, thou of mighty arms, who is certainly the slayer of Bhishma. Hearing these words, the king Yudhishthira said unto that mighty warrior Drishtadhyumna, in that very assembly and in the hearing of Vasudeva, these words: O Drishtadhyumna, mark these words that I say unto thee, O thou of Prishata's line. The words uttered by me should not be transgressed. Approved by Vasudeva, thou hast been the commander of our forces. As Kartikeya in days of old was ever the commander of the celestial host, so also art thou, O bull among men, the commander of the Pandava host. Putting forth thy prowess, O tiger among men, slay the Kauravas. I will follow thee and Bhima, and Krishna also, O sire, and the sons of Madri united together, and the sons of Draupadi accoutred in mail, and all the other foremost of kings, O bull among men. Then gladdening the listeners, Drishtadhyumna said, Ordained of old by Sambhu himself, I am, O son of Pritha, the slayer of Drona. I shall now fight in battle against Bhishma, and Drona and Kripa, and Salya and Jayadratha, and all the proud monarchs on the Kuru side. When that foremost of princes, that slayer of foes the son of Prishata, said this defiantly, the Pandava warriors endued with great energy and incapable of being defeated in battle, all set up a loud shout. And then Pritha's son Yudhishthira said unto the commander of his army, the son of Prishata, these words, an array known by the name of Kraunacharuma, that is destructive of all foes, and that was spoken of by Vrihaspati unto Indra in days of old when the gods and the asuras fought, that array destructive of hostile divisions do thou form. Unseen before, the kings behold it, along with the Kurus. Thus addressed by that god among men, like Vishnu addressed by the wielder of the thunderbolt, he, Dhrishtadyumna, when morning dawned, placed Dhananjaya in the van of the whole army. And Dhananjaya's standard, created at Indra's command by the celestial artificer, while moving through the skies, seemed wonderfully beautiful. Decked with banners bearing hues resembling those of Indra's bow, coursing through the air like a ranger of the skies and looking like the fleeting edifice of vapor in the welkin, it seemed, O sire, to glide dancingly along the track of the car to which it was attached. And the bearer of Gandiva with that standard graced with gems, and that standard itself with the bearer of Gandiva, looked highly adorned, like the self-create with the sun and the sun with the self-create. And King Drupada, surrounded by a large number of troops, became the head of that array. And the two kings Kuntiboja and Salvia became its two eyes. And the ruler of the Dasanas and the Prayagas, with the Dasarakas and the Anupakas, and the Kirathas were placed in its neck, O bull of Bharata's race. And Yudhishthira, O king, with the Patakcharas, the Handas, the Pauravakas and the Nishadas, became its two wings, so also the Pisachas, with the Kundavishas, and the Mandakas, the Ladakas, the Tanganas, and the Udras, O Bharata, and the Saravas, the Tambhumas, the Vatsas, and the Nakulas. And Nakula and Sahadeva placed themselves on the left wing. And on the joints of the wings were placed 10,000 cars, and on the head, 100,000, and on the back 100,020,000, and on the neck 170,000. And on the joints of the wings and the extremities of the wings proceeded elephants in large bodies looking, O king, like blazing mountains. And the rear was protected by Virata aided by the Kekayas, and the ruler of Kasi and the king of the Chedis, with 30,000 cars. Forming, O Bharata, their mighty array thus, the Pandavas expectant of sunrise, waited for battle all cased in armor. And their white umbrellas, clean and costly and brilliant as the sun, shone resplendent on their elephants and cars. Thus ends the 58th section in the Bhishma Parva of the Bhishma Parva. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe to be notified of when new audiobooks are uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.